Good
There we
morning.
go. Good
Excellent.
morning.
So,
Morning, Jeremy.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm triple stinting today.
You're doing all the sanctioning, buddies, huh?
I think, yeah, we're, I don't think they planned for bathroom breaks in this. So, but it's great to see you. And I think we always like to start off with just having the audience get to know you a little bit,
Sure.
and how you ended up doing what you do. And first off, we'll start with a little orientation about what NASA is. Of course, I know what NASA is because it's a big deal in my life and world. So, but just give dimension to the scale and scope of NASA to people who may not know.
Sure. NASA is a road racing sanctioning body based in the United States. We run about 150 events nationwide. We visit just about every road racing facility across the country. We've grown to a membership base of almost 30,000 now. We service just about every major metropolitan area in the country, and we have programs ranging from the absolute novice to get you started on the racetrack and how to learn how to become a race car driver, and moving all the way up into a veteran that just kind of like myself, that's been racing for 2 decades and just loves racing and won't ever give it up. So we've got a program called HPDE, which is high performance driving events, and we kind of created this program that's been emulated for the last 3 decades now. The company won by company founders Jerry Koonsman and Ollie Arsham, and funny enough, it started as the Capri Club out of Northern California. And Jerry had this zany idea that it could grow into something that was a lot bigger than the club that it was. And he formed NASA, and he brought on 2 of the other company owners at the time, Ryan Flaherty and John Lindsay, who I was fortunate enough to meet starting racing in 2005 down in Southern California. And they brought me on as just a young kid to help grow NASA into what it's become today. And I'm fortunate enough to now be in the position where I'm essentially managing the company. So,
yes, so you're the one everyone can blame.
Yes,
that's how it works in racing.
I do get lots of fingers pointed my way. That's for sure.
Yeah, to take it from someone who knows, that's really how it ends up when you're the one sitting in that seat. So, that background is helpful because you're a racer at heart, and a lot of what you've done has been driven by your passion for the sport, obviously. And when you look at NASA, what's different about NASA in contrast to other offerings that are similar to yours in the space? What differentiates the culture and the spirit of NASA and what you do and how you do it if you're a competitor?
Sure. NASA, it really is a huge family. We've got 15 regions across the country. Every region has somewhere between 50 and 100 people that work with them, from volunteers to people that show up because they love doing it. We've got a growing staff here at the national office. We've got upwards of 20 people now. So we've grown quite substantially over the last 10 years or so, as NASA's continued to spread and grow. And we have our national championship event, which is an annual event that moves. We kind of pioneered the concept of moving our national championship, or at least having a national championship event that moved every year to a different area in the country. The idea there was just to give a broader range of access to our participants. There's not as many people that will travel across the country, West Coast or East Coast. So we try to move it around and give everyone an equal opportunity to attend a high level, high skill event like that. But the big thing that differentiates NASA is our breadth and scope. We have a very unique program in our HPDE time trial and road racing elements, and anyone to someone with the Honda Civic or to a Ferrari or Lamborghini can sign up for a NASA membership, register for a NASA event, and go get get proper professional in-car instruction with someone sitting right seat and teach them the ins and outs. And we have the most accessible program and the most highly developed HPD program in the country. So I think that's kind of what sets us apart.
Well, you have a lot to be proud of with what you've done in building this business with these programs. I first, one of my first kind of like, NASA is a real thing, was just a realization that, the complexion and landscape of amateur motorsports changed, and NASA was driving that change. And it really was. It was, I'm a longtime SCCA member and participant. I raced in the club and have been a member, off and on since I was, very young person. And I started to realize there were multiple paths by what NASA was creating. And you had a signature event too, which was the 25 or 24 hours, I can't remember now, at Thunderhill.
Yeah, with 2025, it's actually happening this weekend.
Yes, it is. And that's when I really started to realize, okay, NASA is really a thing, because there was a lot of buzz about that event.
Yeah.
And how did that one come to pass if people are not familiar with it? Just give us a little background on that.
Again, I got to point the finger at my partner, Jerry Kunzman. He was running a 12-hour event. This was maybe 20 years ago now, yeah. At Thunderhill, and he was giving a driver's meeting at the time, and he actually said, maybe we'll try something different next year, literally out of left field, and said, maybe we'll run an hour past all the way around the clock and we'll make it 25. And the 25 Hours of Thunderhill was born. So that's a staple event. It's been a strong contender in the amateur endurance side of things. It's one of the only tried and true more than 24-hour endurance races you can do across the country. And it's attracted, anyone from myself, who was just a lowly racer, to Kurt Busch and NASCAR legends and IndyCar legends. Heck, the Andrettis were there 2 or 3 seasons ago, which is really cool, right? You get these big name folks, and you're trading elbows and hopefully not trading paint with them in the same race. So it's pretty cool to have one of the only true pro-am races across the country.
Yeah, it's got its own kind of if you will, legend to it now. You've had it actually pops up as a real, this is a major event in the culture of racing now.
Yeah,
it defines kind of too the ambition of NASA. And to that point, here we are. You're in the driver's seat, operating this business now. Where does NASA want to go with what you've created? What is the kind of vision for the next period of, through the end of this decade? What do you want to see happen with NASA?
I mean, NASA has really kind of defined itself with innovation. We came up with the 25 Hours of Thunderhill. A lot of folks don't know Spec Miata, the biggest single make race in the world, was started in NASA NorCal. We helped pioneer that and push it along. Our Spec E30 program, under the same guidelines, Honda Challenge back in the mid 2000s into even still today. We're looking toward the future on sustainability. We're looking toward the future on EVs and the adoption of EVs. We're working with a new partner in Scalar. Scalar Performance just announced, and they're actually going to be at PRI next week, their new SCR1 all EV race car, which is pretty cool. We're working closely together with them to provide them a home in our super touring category. One of the challenges is NASA events tend to be one of the most complicated of lifestyle events to put on anywhere across the country. I like to say that we do the best job in the industry at packing 10 pounds of stuff into a 5-pound bag. We don't just offer 30 some odd race classes of competition. We also have 9 time trial classes. We have 4 categories of high performance driving. We have contingency programs that span across our racing and time trial programs. And we've even innovated a new high performance driving HPDE rewards program, where if you participate with NASA for a certain number of events, our partners will provide you discounts and opportunities to get benefits and whatnot through them. So the wheel of innovation never really stops, right? There's always something to keep us going and keep us moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's always driven by who your customers are, and it is, as the world moves deeper into the 21st century, is your customer changing fundamentally, or is it same sort of mindset but just moving through another generation? What do you see now in terms of your customer base? Is it like what originally powered this customer base, like what originally powered the first wave of growth in NASA?
Yeah, if I'm honest, as a long time SCCA member, I'm sure you'll appreciate this. Our demographic is aging. We in the mid 2000s, I would say the average NASA racer was a late 20s, early 30s guy.
Right.
Now it's a late 30s guy, right? So, and that's probably due in part to a number of the other great folks that are doing a great job, right? You guys just were talking to Chris from Grid Life. They're just doing an amazing job at, spurring interest in that younger demographic, which I find most helpful, because anything and everything that we can do to provide more access to the world of motorsport is good for everyone. SCCA has been doing a heck of a job with their Track Night in America program, bringing in lots of new folks. I am one of the few in motorsports that, to steal Chris's line, likes to use the thought of building a bigger oven instead of cutting up the pie. I thought that was a really poignant thing he said, because the more everyone can work together to make motorsports more accessible is better for everyone in general. And that's kind of a company philosophy that we have across NASA.
Well, that's a healthy philosophy, because I think that we're still a niche sport.
For sure.
And, we all think we're a big deal, but sometimes the rest of the world doesn't. And to get any sort of mass and momentum up as a culture, I think we need each other as drafting partners. And one form of motorsport or one sanctioning group may not be right for a person as they progress, or even as an entry point. It's good that we have options. And so much of it's vehicle driven. You touched on the EV side of it. Is there an emerging trend that you could spot in the types of vehicles people want to race now? Is it, again, it's always changing. But the world I've been around, I've seen it evolve quite profoundly. But, is there something you see from the NASA perspective that you're trying to address?
I think one of the biggest seismic shifts has been professional racing's push toward factory-built race cars. I think that's had an implication, is going to have a much larger implication moving into the next 5 or 10 years. If you can buy a purpose-built, factory race car for 75 or 80 grand from a team that can't use it anymore, why are you going to spend 100 grand building your own race car? Right. So I think that's had a big impact, and will continue to moving into the future. And then the slow adoption on the motorsports side of the EV segment. Again, NASA loves to be at the forefront of change. We're certainly not risk averse when it comes to trying new things. So I firmly believe that EVs, as the industry continues to adopt them in the world of motorsports, are going to continue to grow, because it's been pretty amazing to work with the folks over at Scalar and learn and understand the benefits of EV technology and how much of an important impact that's going to play. Not so much from the cost saving standpoint of purchasing vehicles, because those are still it's new, right? Anything new is going to be expensive, but
Right.
it's on the cost savings on a per weekend basis because you don't have the expense of changing oil and rebuilding engines. It's an electric motor.
Yeah. That's one of the interesting things. I had the privilege of being part of this velocity event a year ago at Laguna Seca, WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, and moderated a panel, and I got to sit down with Jim Farley, who had been our client at Toyota during his days there, and now, of course, he's the man running the Ford Motor Company. But he's a racer, and he's a racer at heart. And he was sharing with me that one of the nice things about a EV is that a lot fewer moving parts.
Yep.
And torque.
Instant
I like
torque.
I like torque in a race car.
Oh yeah.
So when I look at what's coming, there are opportunities, obviously, for all of motorsport in that space. It's a different consumer probably too that's going to want to do that. And it's great to see that you're doing what you're doing. I also have to ask, does that alienate the core constituency you have at NASA, or does that interest? Do you have an open-minded paddock, I guess, is what I'm asking.
We do. I think that's one of the things we're really fortunate to have in NASA culture is this very open-mindedness, open arm approach where everyone in the NASA paddock is part of the NASA family, and you're all there for the same reason, which is the love of motorsport.
Right.
And maybe you're just entering HPDE1 and you're just learning, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to have someone there that has the same type of car that you'll drive by as you're pulling into the paddock and go, hey, I wonder if I can paddock with that guy, and you'll get out and he'll say, absolutely, yeah, and let's share the weekend together. So that's been a huge blessing to the organization as a whole, because that's really hard to foster from the get-go.
Yeah, well, if you start there and stay there, don't lose that, because I think one of the things that is so important, especially as I in my life moved through the levels of professional racing, it becomes too serious. It becomes very serious, and the consequence. I'm not talking the consequence of risk, but the consequence of you're measured and paid by performance. But when you're there to have fun, if you're in a culture that recognizes that and embraces it, I think the more of that's at the foundation of motorsport, the better it is going to be for motorsport. Because to use Chris's word from the prior session, you have gravity. Fun attracts people. And
absolutely.
And when I think about what NASA has done, especially something like the 25 Hours of Thunderhill, what do you see for your organization expanding its profile, and becoming more visible beyond the people on site at participation? You have live stream out of Thunderhill, I've seen. But is there a plan to make your events more public facing as an attractor, or is that not necessary for what you do via live stream or other means?
I mean, we have live stream for our NASA championship event as well. Again, if you look at the demographics, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we're IMSA or that we have aspirations to become IMSA. That requires a level of complexity and quite honestly financing that just isn't in the cards. I think focusing on our core competencies, on who we are as a business and what we do well, is what we are going to continue to do. We're still, that's not to say we're not looking toward some new programs, some more innovative things, new race classes, things like that. But again, focusing on inclusive and not exclusive. NASA's always been the most inclusive group across motorsports, and I intend to keep it that way, because one of the here's a perfect example. We had a large-scale initiative this year to through our publication called NASA Speed News, to tell the story of who NASA is and what our membership base is. And that's not to necessarily highlight any one particular person or group, but to just demonstrate the wide variety of folks, from men and women to, folks in the LGBTQ community that are avid supporters of motorsports, and they're already here. They're already in our NASA organization, and they're as accepted as anybody else, because again, the only thing that no one goes to a NASA event for the most part without some level of motorsports interest or passion. So it's just putting programs together to foster that passion and to fan that flame to further grow it into something that keeps them coming back.
And that's commendable, because racing's for everybody, or motorsports is for everybody. There should
Absolutely.
not be a barrier to anyone for any reason, in my mind, and unless you're a habitual excuse maker like I am after I don't win a race, then there should be a
You're a
barrier.
racer. You're a racer. It wasn't me, it was the car.
Yeah, I could understand that part, but the reality is racing belongs to everyone, and it's the one sport what doesn't care what gender you are, what religion you are, what sexual orientation you have. It just doesn't care. You just got to be able to do it.
That's right. I like to say it's a language
doesn't matter. It's just your will, your desire, and your ability to learn is what drives it.
Yeah.
And NASA's ability to learn is an accelerated one. You've done a lot in the 30 years that the company's been around. It's still a young company, and it has a long way to go. If you were to define what is the greatest thing, if you look back on the collective history, it doesn't have to be when you've been at the helm, of course. What do you think is the greatest thing that NASA has accomplished out of the myriad things you've talked about today? What is the most significant accomplishment?
Wow, that's a big list. I would have to point toward the creation of our HPDE program and the curriculum that has effectively seen it emulated across the world in motorsport. I mean, if you go back into the 90s, right, the people were doing track days, not like they do track days today, right?
Yeah.
And the number of folks that are offering, have some sort of offer in the area of motorsports has never been wider and never been bigger. So I think the thing that we just need to do is to continue to tell our story and to keep people engaged, because that's what it's about. It's about engagement and providing a place for someone to enjoy their vehicle. That's one of the things that kind of stood out when you asked if this march toward EVs. I see that as a positive. I see that as something changing, and I see that as an opportunity to be more inclusive and to bring more new people into the world of NASA and provide a different experience. You've driven enough cars, and I'm certain that you understand the difference between wheeling a Tesla around the track and wheeling a 65 Ford Mustang around the track. So
yeah, and with some irony, Racer, agency, Racer Studio, during the prior decade here, our company did the original launch videos for the Tesla Model S. Our agency did, and one of the things you realize is EV is a high performance car.
Absolutely.
And, stop. It's just they're going to be raced. Well, it's been fantastic talking with you today. I've enjoyed it, and I wish you and the team at NASA great success in the year ahead, and congratulations on all the things you've accomplished. I think Racer and NASA started right around the same time. So,
thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you to the good folks at ePartrade for the invitation to attend this. It's been phenomenal, and we look forward to being a part of it in the future.
Thank you, Jeremy.
So, yeah.
Registering on ePartrade is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to ePartrade.